All right, everyone. Thank you for joining me again. Monday afternoon, well, early, almost lunchtime. My second interview today. I got Holmdel coach Darren Ault. Darren, thank you for joining me.
Hey Nick, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Exciting day today. Basketball season, finally here. Before we talk about this season, just want talk of last season. I like to ask the coaches, what was the game plan or the message you were trying to send your team before the season started last year?
Last year's message was still a lot about building for us. It was my second year with the program, so trying to get used to each other. We had 1 year under our belt about a new system, new coaching methods. Um, had three or four seniors graduate, so trying to figure out who would step into the leadership roles and just continuing to build chemistry, which is a big thing for us. Our mantra has always been family, and just try to build that home that we have each other's backs throughout anything, throughout any of the growing processes, being able to challenge each other, practice day to day, but still like each other and work together in games. And the girls really embraced that well. We had some fantastic games last year. We were right at the hump a couple of times, and then finally had a big breakthrough late in the year.
Before we talk about some of these games, you're unique. Your son's on your staff, right?
Yes,
How,
Nicholas was a volunteer coach last year, and now he's the JV coach.
how is it, coaching with your son and having him under you?
It's a great pleasure, privilege. Actually, I've had the opportunity as a coach to coach all of my kids, my two daughters and my son. My son got the short straw, maybe. You may not look at it that way. And that I was coaching high school girls, and he obviously played high school boys, but I did get the opportunity to coach him for a while. I've coached with my oldest daughter, Victoria, in the past, and now to be able to have Nicholas on the staff is fantastic.
That's great. Now I had Dave on from Rumson earlier, and we talked a little bit about the division your team was in last year. Very tough division. Do you feel playing in that type of division helps get the team ready for come postseason?
Oh, without a doubt. And that was one of the big mindset changes we had to make year two versus year one.
Mhm.
When I came into the program from SJV, I think the mindset was, oh, we're just Holmdel. We play St. Rose and Manasquan and RBC and Rumson, and they kind of went in defeated to
Yeah.
a lot of games the first year. So that was a big jump in our mindset last year. Was that, hey, you know don't be afraid of the name on the jersey. We should be proud of our program, and we built a nice program. Let's go get them.
Yeah, and you had a pretty good season last season. One, probably the win that everyone, will point out is the Red Bank Catholic. You guys, were able to knock down Red Bank Catholic. Just could you talk a little bit that game? The girls' reaction, and what the game plan or what the message, not the game plan necessarily, but what the message was before the game.
Sure. The message I give to the girls all we prepare to win whoever we're playing against, right? It doesn't matter who. Now, obviously, that mountain's going to be a little tougher to climb depending on that opponent. And RBC certainly at the time, I think being third in the conference and ninth in the state was a big hurdle. 2 weeks prior, we had lost to them by 18 points in their gym. They're a force to be reckoned with every year, but when they've got two or three 6 foot plus girls, Allie Carmen, who is just, she is a strong presence in the post, and we don't, that just adds to that hurdle, right? So our focus going into that game was just that: focus on us, the things that we do well, try to minimize their strengths and build up ours. And I think the biggest turning point for me in that game was in the third quarter, RBC had jumped up to a 10-point lead
Mhm.
after a nice tight first half. And previously, in the year and a half leading up to that, my girls probably would have folded away from that. But they came back, tied it up, and then we just were in a battle for the last 3 or 4 minutes.
Yeah, that's anytime any school could be RBC, even top teams in the state. It's good for program, and it's good confidence, leading into the postseason. Um, Another games I wanted to talk about. You played. I don't know how many times that's been done. Manasquan 4 times, right, last season.
Yes.
Now, I asked Dave this earlier. Playing basically Group 2 is the same division. First we'll talk, what it is like playing a team 4 different times and, trying to get your team motivated. It's tough to motivate a team 2 times to play against the same team, but, 4 times. And then just speak on, playing the similar teams in group two when, most people want to hopefully are playing different teams in the state when they enter the playoffs.
Yeah, I have to say that Group Two does get a little frustrating on the back end, but I'll address that in a little bit, I guess. But listen, Lisa Kokota is a fantastic coach, does a great job with Manasquan year in and year out, and to have them in our division, playing them twice a year, that's the challenge. And so last year we felt pretty good about our core group of people, and our bench had grown quite a bit. Role players were accepting roles, and I felt really good going into the first game at our gym. Only to find out that my starting point guard, Carson Fontana, was not going to be there because she had the flu. So, again, that the year before would have been detrimental. We would have lost by 40. But to the girls' credit, very simple. Next person up, Ryan Taylor assumed the point guard role, found a little bit out about herself and her ability to lead a team, which she does a great job of. We ended up losing by 5 points in that game. And I didn't feel good after the game because Manasquan shot 28 free throws and we shot 8. But hey, that happens. But we had that, and I think that was a great confidence builder for us that, hey, we really can play with Manasquans and Rumsens and teams like that. And every game we played with them after that was just another tight game and another tight game. And so we went into the short conference tournament game against them, and we were actually being picked to win by a lot of people, which was new for us. And certainly I'm sure Lisa had that plastered all over her whiteboard, in the locker room. And we struggled a little bit with some early game stuff that we couldn't quite recover from. So that was the third one. Luckily for me, I've had the benefit of playing Manasquan 4 times previously when I was with St. John Vianney. And the year that we actually won the TOC, we played them 4 times, and each game was closer and closer. Single overtime in the short conference final, double overtime in the TOC. So I had the ability to kind of lean back on that experience and share that with the girls that, we just need to find that next gear, that next level. And in the semis of the group 2, we played them really well with the exception of a 30-second click at the end of the first quarter. And that's one of those things that you just, as a coach, I'm like, oh, should I have done something different? But they came down, hit 3 threes, and went up 9, and that's what they ended up winning by. We just couldn't get over that hump.
Yeah, I remember I was at that game. I remember that game. It was just that one little spurt, and they were just able to keep it that keep that distance from the majority of the game.
Yeah, that was a difference maker. And then to your question about Group 2, the first year we make the states. We have to play Raritan in our gym to go on to play Rumsen. Yeah. And, that gets frustrating. I'm like, let's go play somebody else and maybe meet them in the semis or something. So last year it actually worked out pretty well and that was my challenge to the girls. Let's get a high enough seed that we're not seeing people in our division. And sure enough, we ended up getting a home game. South Plainfield, I think we ended up beating them pretty good. And then went on to play number 3 seed Hillside in their gym, which again, that's what we wanted, somebody different. And we played a great game against Hillside to earn the right to go play Manasquan for that 4th game.
Yeah, it's funny. So you got Raritan, Holmdel, Manasquan, Rumson, and Shore Regional, and all of them in the same, division in the Shore.
Yeah.
Now moving forward to this season, you brought up Carson. Who do you, one of your senior leaders, who do you expect to take over like that type of role, that the point guard, leader role?
So that's a great question and something I've been puzzling myself with all summer long. Listen, Ryan Taylor did a great job with it when called upon to do it last year. It's not her natural position necessarily, but she's really, really smart with the basketball, handles it well. I just don't want to take away from her other abilities too, because she's a scorer. She can drive, she can do a lot of different things and create some mismatches along the way. So I do have a couple of younger players I'm trying to kind of get more minutes out of in that spot. Mia Giamanco is a junior. She's a soccer player primarily, but she does a nice job with the basketball, and I just want to build up her confidence in that respect. And then I have a pretty dynamic young sophomore player in Erica Stolker, who has been nothing but a gym rat all summer long, all fall long. And I challenged her at the end of last year, go work on your ball skills. I'm going to need you. And she took that challenge. So I'm really eager to see what she can contribute this year.
Another big senior you lost was Leah Nolan, a great player. Where did she go to school again?
Leah's at Scranton.
Scranton, yes, a great basketball school.
Yeah.
Who do you expect to, kind of fill her role this season?
That's a tough one too, because Leah was very versatile. She inside out, outside in. I tried to get more of the inside from her just by default because she was one of our bigger, stronger players. But she can do it all. So I think that's going to be a hodgepodge, of contributions. Certainly, Abby Ferguson is a tremendous dynamic player who can do the inside out, outside in as well. Catherine Martini really grew a lot last year in terms of her. She's long and lanky, but I tell you what, put her up against Allie Carmen, who's 6'3", 6'4", and has her by a few. And Catherine battles, so you get a lot out of her frame. And I know she's been working on her strength and endurance as well, which will be helpful. And then just other contributors like Alexandra Lakopoulos, who's back with Holmdel now. She'll certainly be a big add to us and very similar to a Leah Nolan type player.
You brought up Abby and Catherine, two tall players. Does that help? Because high school teams look for height. Does that help having two girls? I mean, they're both 6 foot plus, a little bit over 6 foot, and having them two. And do you think you could use them both on the court at the same time?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Since they were freshmen, they kind of came in as a pair. They're almost always, coincidentally linked together. They're two different types of players and have matured in different ways, but have taken great strides from that freshman year. But I'll never forget our state game against Raritan. We had some foul trouble. I think I had Olivia Palmer, Leah Nolan, and Carson Fontana all on the bench with fouls. So I reached to the two freshmen. I basically said, "You're not freshmen anymore." And I gave them assignments. You go lock down this player, you go lock down that player. And they were actually responsible for our swing in that game. So I think the sky is the limit with the two of them.
I was at the Modern Day Shore game, the Shore tournament game at your gym. And I got them confused. One's 14, the other one's 41. They kind of similar. And I think Ryan Taylor sent me a message on Twitter saying, "No, you got them wrong." Because when I posted the stats, and stuff at the game I was at, it was funny. But that was a game I thought Abby had a great game, that game against Modern Day in the Shore Conference tournament.
Yeah, she did, and then she followed that up in states against Hillside, where I think she dumped in 22, and she was just in and out of the middle of a zone, and they had some nice length and whatnot that they challenged us outside, and Abby just kept finding those gaps and dropping the ball in, and she's really got an effective game, and like I said, Catherine's got a lot to add to that too. So it's nice to have that length. I think we're rich as far as Holmdel goes, but then when I look at what SJV has and everybody's 6 feet tall, it'll be a challenge.
Who are some other players that were on the team last year that you expect them to have bigger roles this season?
Sure. So yeah, I'm really happy with our growing depth. We've got a really good underclass group in terms of sophomores and freshmen that may contribute as well. But I have a couple of seniors who. Olivia Palmer is she's a really good basketball player. And last year she had a little bit of a down year for her shooting wise, but I think it was because I was challenging her a little bit to be better defensively and be better on the boards. Once she started to embrace that kind of full sense of the game, she actually started to blossom more. So I'm looking forward to that continuing because she can add in a lot of ways to what we do. Emma Quirk is another senior who's, she's a role player, but she's strong coming off the bench, does a lot of those lunch bucket things and just extremely easy to coach and very team oriented, as is Molly Julian, who's also a senior. Underclass wise, I think I got a couple surprises. Obviously I got to see what Alexander can do for us. Erica, as I mentioned to you. And then we have another junior who has some size, Katie O'Brien, who's been kind of a JV swing type player. But she's put a lot of work into strength and conditioning and ball skills this fall. So I'm really curious to see what she can add as well.
I like asking coaches this. Do you think the youth program in Holmdel, having a strong youth program in the town helps, feed the high school programs?
It does, and that's something we have to get better at. And I actually neglected to mention Lindsay Cannon in my previous. She is a dynamo player, and she was a starter last year, and the first person off the bench at times. And she just embraced whatever role she could do to contribute. She has matured tremendously. She's one of my team captains, and she's going to be very, very tough.
Did she play soccer this past season?
She did, and
Okay.
and her younger sister Allison's playing with us now too. So that's going to be a nice dynamic duo. But
that's
people like that, like Lindsay, like Ryan, who have grown up in Holmdel and in the Holmdel programs. That's really what we want to capture going forward. I think any program needs it to be successful. It's easier. I would say, my son Nicholas and I were talking about this last night, that if you are an SJV or if you are an RBC or a program like that where you have perennial success, it's easier to draw talent from other areas, right?
Yeah.
Holmdel's a pocket of a town, and we got to be able to keep our talent home. Yeah. So maybe next time Julia Carpel doesn't go to SJV or Janie Bachman or people like that,
Yeah, when I had Coach McGee on from Middletown North last week, and he basically said the same thing. You got to build the relationships to keep them home, and keep them in their hometown school instead.
Yeah.
I was joking with Dave earlier this morning, saying, I went to St. Rose, I was always about, those schools. But now as I got older, I want the kids to stay at their public school. I love going to the public school gyms and the hometown, cheering them on and stuff.
Yeah, but it's pivotal to do that. I mean, when I first started at Modern Day, now we obviously have the luxury of being able to pull from a broader pool, but you're also competing with St. Rose, St. John Vianney, and RBC, as far as Catholic school kids go. So being able to talk to the feeder schools like St. Mary's and some of the other small grammar schools to keep kids in the program, that mentality is key.
Yeah. Question I like to, I want to ask, what are some of the challenges that you're facing as a coach this season, dealing with the pandemic and, trying to, get your team ready? It was a crazy summer, they limited the time you could spend with the team. So what are some of the challenges you're facing, in the past few months?
Well, the biggest challenge is getting to today,
Yeah.
right? I mean, this has been pushed back a couple of times already, and there's just a lot of tentative, frightened nature about whether or not we'd actually be able to get the season in. So the fact that we're here Monday, January 11th, it can't be more exciting. Outside of that, it's just kind of keeping people calm around all the speculation of rumor of quarantine times, and is there going to be a shutdown, and so has the virus, and just try to manage all the stipulations around COVID, but keeping things as normal as possible for the girls. And to me, that's the most important thing. There's enough stress that they're dealing with school being different. I just want, when they get in that gym, I want it to be as normal as possible for them.
Before we wrap up, I just want your division or pod, whatever they're calling it, one of the better ones, I think, looking it over. Just talk about, the matchup with, you're going to see a familiar face in RBC, Red Bank Regional, right?
No, we're in the other pod with SJV, Mattawan, Middletown North.
Oh, why did I think you were in that pod?
Yeah.
Maybe because that's the one I've been looking at the whole time. So, SJV, that's the cream of the crop in the Shore. What's going to be your message to your team when you face up against St. John Vianney?
Well, luckily that's a little later in the season, so we have some time to get our legs under us. But our challenge up to that point is to make things as competitive as possible day in and day out. So our scrimmage coming up next week is against Manasquan, and that's intentional. We want to challenge ourselves. Luckily there's some other good teams in. Colts Neck's had a very good program the last few years. Middletown North has done a nice job. Mattawan's got a new coach, but I know her well in my former assistant. And I know she's got a little talent there, so I'm sure she'll get everything out of those kids. And so hopefully we can continue to pound the wood floor and get ready for SJV, which without any goofing off or anything, they're going to be tough. They're going to be very tough. And I know a lot of those girls, the seniors in particular, who were my freshman class when I was the assistant at SJV for Dawn. So it's going to be kind of mixed emotions. It's going to be nice to see them and how they've matured in the game and getting ready to head off to college. But at the same time, we're going to look to beat the snot out of them. So,
were you able to pick up any games?
Yeah, we have Ranny
Okay, that's a good.
We picked up Randy, who's, Caitlin's doing a nice job there, and
Yeah.
I'm sure she's going to have some things to say when she gets out on the court. And then St. Rose, we're playing them as
Okay,
well.
good.
Yeah.
So there's two good games you were able to pick up.
Yeah, and again, it's even when I was way back in modern day years ago, it was always about trying to find challenges outside of our division. So.
Yeah, and that's one reason I love the Shore. The players and the coaches. They want to play the toughest teams.
Yeah.
One coach said to me over the summer, I'd rather lose to St. John Vianney by 20 than beat some team by 50. The team's going to get more out of that loss.
Yeah, and listen, the message that you had mentioned SJV, and they're the cream of the crop, right?
Yep.
We have history to pull from. Our ability to play with Manasquan, a 1-point loss to Rums in Fairhaven last year in their gym. The RBC win last year. There's a team that was on top of everything, and they came into our gym. We were able to get it done. So the tough part's going to be the way the format is. A Monday, Wednesday game against the same team. So there's really no adjustment period.
Yeah.
We just have to all go out and strap on the shoes and do the best we can.
That's what, I did similar interviews with, before soccer season with the soccer coaches. And, that was the one thing they said. It's, playing the same team in the same week. The one coach said, what if we blow a team out or they blow us out? How do I get my team to forget about that 2 days later, and say it's a clean slate, where, in the past you play a team, say it's a bad loss or a big win. It's usually 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks until you play them again. And, you don't have that. It's a very quick turnaround.
Yeah, very quick. So you don't have the advantage of film to review or common opponents to review to see what worked and what didn't. But at the end of the day, right, we just have to adapt. We have to be ready to go out and put our best effort forward every single time. So, my message to the girls today, our first practice, is really going to be about we cannot waste a minute of practice and preparation and just continue to build in our core beliefs.
Well, Coach, that's all I have. I appreciate you joining me today.
Hey, Nick, great pleasure.
I'm excited about your team. Even when the season ended last year, your team was one of the ones that I was like, I wanted to be on the lookout. If for this season, a lot of good talent there.
Well, thank you. I'm excited as well, and I know through my two captains, Lindsay and Ryan, they are true leaders, and they're gonna draw a lot out of these girls. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, Ryan. I interviewed Ryan the beginning of early on in the pandemic. A great kid.
Yeah, she's a wonderful kid. I'm telling you, Lindsay's an unknown to a lot of people from a basketball perspective, but what a wonderful, wonderful young lady. And she just has this dynamic about her that she'll take on anything, anytime, anywhere. And, it's not like she's a 6-footer or is a focused basketball player, but she's what I like to call the lunch bucket kid who will just do whatever, and she's a great, great player to have.
Those are my favorite players to watch, the ones that don't mind doing the little things.
Fun to coach, for sure.
Yeah. All right, Coach, I'll let you go, and good luck to you and the team this season.
All right, Nick, stay well.
You too. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye.